Hey, everybody. That's plenty. Calm down. Thank you. My name is Rory Scholl. I'm a storyteller with the Moth, and we did an online Moth workshop. I've got some great storytellers that are going to come out and tell a few tales that they've worked on. But I thought I'd share something as well. It's a good memory. I remember the diaper I was wearing was torn, and the booties I had on were all disheveled, and the bib I was wearing was couple sizes too small, so I was basically almost naked with a torn diaper on a subway in Brooklyn, and I remember thinking to myself, this is not a good look for a man in his 40s. When I moved to New York from Dallas, Texas, many, many moons ago, I would take any survival gig I could, and most actors will do that as well. Most of mine involved dressing up in costumes, mascot work. In fact, that's how I got to New York in the first place. I was the mascot for American Airlines for 2 years. I dressed up like an airline seat, and I traveled around the country opening new terminals and doing commercials and radio spots. It was super fun. So when I got here, I was like, sure, I'll do some mascot work to make ends meet. And they weren't all as glamorous as the first one. I was the Michelin Man passing out books at a bookstore once. I got lost in a supermarket in Queens dressed as Tony the Tiger because no one was there to assist me. Once I was the Bigelow Teacup tea company, and people thought I was a toilet, so all day long people were throwing trash in my head. So after all of these gigs all the time, I'm almost thinking in my head, I'm not going to do this again. Rory, don't take a gig like this. Have some dignity, and that's the struggle I wrestle with every time a gig pops up. And of course, one did. My friend said, I have a friend who has a new app, and I told him about you, and they'd love you to come out and dress up like a baby and promote their app. And I was like, I really don't want to do it, but all right, fine, but this is the last time. This is the last time I'm going to do this. And so I show up at the staging area, which is an empty church in Brooklyn, and the first thing I notice is it's not a big foam costume like you would see at Disney World, which I thought it was going to be. No, this was an actual wearing a diaper and a bib. And the second thing I noticed was I was not alone. There were 49 other men there of various ages and races who were all going to dress up like a baby and pass out flyers and throw out frisbees for this app. And here's how bad an app it was. I don't even remember the name of it. It had something to do with a restaurant where if you spin a wheel, whatever restaurant it lands on in your area, you get a coupon emailed to you for 20% off. And their slogan was savings, baby. So they thought it would be great to have a bunch of savings babies walk around Brooklyn and passing out flyers. So the first thing they asked us to do was strip down to our whitey tighties, which they told us to wear, and then get in one of three lines, the bib line, the diaper line, and the booty lines. And we're all in line, holding our civilian clothes in our hands, in our whitey tighties. It's like an audition for Walter White. I don't know what's happening. And then all of a sudden it kind of turns into Full Metal Jacket. I'm like, this is my diaper. There are many like it, but this one is mine. And so all 50 man babies are dressed up, and they say there's a little flash mob element to this. So they want us to learn a dance. So the old electric slide. So all 50 babies line up, and it's to a Blood, Sweat, and Tears spinning wheel. And so it's what goes up must come down. Yeah, so that's what we have to dance to when we're out. And the thing about a flash mob is, I don't know if you've ever been a victim of one, but everybody wears either trench coats and takes them off and surprises people, or they hop out of vans. It's kind of the same MO as kidnappers, but this was not going to be the case. We were actually, all 50 of us, going to walk down the street about a half a mile to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, which is a music and sports venue. So no element of surprise at all. So all 50, the babies, start walking down the street, and of course we draw a crowd and people are taking pictures. And I remember there was a kid there named Nick who I had been teaching improv to him for about 6 years, ever since he was like 14, 15, and now he was like 20. And he turns to me and he said, isn't this great? You never know where this is going to lead. I'm like, Nick, it leads right here. I'm 20 years older than you. We're doing the same thing. This is where it ends. So finally we get to the Barclays Center, and all the babies line up, and the person presses the button on the boom box, and it's what goes up must come. Before we even get to down, security comes out and starts yelling at us. Nope, no babies. All the babies out of the Barclays Center. And one guy starts crying, so all 50 of us start crying. And I'm like, why am I doing this job again? This is my job for a day. This is insane. So we try it again at the parking lot across the street at a Target. What goes up must come, and out comes security again, and they chase us away. So no one's letting us do our gig anyway. And I hear the PA say to the director, listen, we got a MetroCard with a bunch of money on it. What if we swipe all the babies into the subway? We'll go down about 4 stops to this business park, and they can do it there. And they were like, great. So sure enough, they swipe all 50 babies in. There's 50 of us on a subway car. And then it's very surreal that we're doing this. It's a little funny, but then when we finally get to the stop, we go up to the business park where people are trying to enjoy their lunch or have a cell phone meeting or just kind of relax and escape the day for a little bit. All of a sudden, 50 guys in diapers show up and just stand there because we get there before the woman with the boombox. So now we don't know what to do. We're throwing frisbees. Somebody knocks somebody's coffee over. People are getting irate at us. Finally, boombox lady shows up. She presses the button, and we make it. What goes up must come down. But they didn't tell us what direction to face in rehearsal because we were broken up into several groups. So now we have 50 guys in diapers slamming into each other, annoying everybody at this business park. The whole song plays, and then we all just kind of stand there and look at each other. And I hear the PA tell the director, listen, we don't have enough money on the MetroCard to get all the babies back to the staging area. And the director says, we'll just have them walk back, and they can pass out swag on the way. And that was it for me. I was very angry that I put myself in this situation again. The only other thing I had on was a little slingback backpack with our wallets and our cell phones in there. So I said, no, there's no way I'm walking. I'm taking the subway, and I take my MetroCard out, and I'm fuming, and I swipe my way down, and I walk down the steps. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm sitting on the platform like, how dare they treat us like this? And it wasn't until I was waiting for the train that I realized 50 man babies together are strong. But one man baby alone is a target. So there I am in my diaper, almost naked in Brooklyn. People are now taking pictures of me, asking if I want a spanking. I get so flustered, I get on the wrong train and I go deeper into Brooklyn instead of towards the city where I needed to go. And finally, I find my way on the right train, but I've still got many, many stops dressed like this. So each stop, I pretend I'm doing a viral marketing campaign. And I'm like, there's a load full of savings in my diaper. Go to Huggies.com and put in a Subway as the passcode. Get your coupons. So I did this for about 6 or 7 stops and went just embarrassed. And finally, I make it to the stop where I need to be, but I'm still 8 minutes away from the church. So I have to run from the subway all the way to the staging area, dressed still in a diaper. I was getting heckled by everybody, by firemen who were telling me Halloween was last week. And I normally don't run from 14-year-olds, but I will run from 8 of them if they're chasing me down a street. Luckily, they ducked into a McDonald's. And because I got so lost, I finally caught up to the herd of babies. I took my place in line behind them. We all wandered back into the church to get paid our $75 cash. And they said, listen, you did a great job. We have another event next week we'd love you to be a part of. And I just laughed and I said, I'll see you there. Thank you. Hey guys, so our first storyteller up here, he is a student right here. He is a performing arts student. And his topic was nostalgia. And so let's see how Shaan tackles nostalgia. Ladies and gentlemen, Shaan Mughal.
3 taps on the window. I turn around slowly and see 3 entities, creepily masked with pitchforks and torches. Shocked in my swivel chair, I turn my chair to the left and exit my room as quickly as possible. Now in my hall, seemingly much longer than it usually is, I make my way to the kitchen to grab a knife. As I stumble my way to the kitchen, I fear that the masked entities are chasing after me, or worse, they're going after my brothers or parents. I do not stop and check, though. I figured it best to leave everyone sleeping and handle the problem myself. I have no combat experience, especially none with adrenaline pumping through my body, but I somehow felt the need to persevere. I eventually make my way through to the kitchen and grab a knife off the counter. Suddenly, I stop for a second. I feel some sort of a presence behind me, and I freeze. Ever so slowly, I begin to question what it could be. As I turn, I see 1, 2, 3 entities behind me. The same ones outside my window. Only now, they're about 6 feet ahead of me. They hold their weapons steady. Slowly, they creepily smile. Next thing I know, I wake up in bed, drenched in sweat. So much so that, for a few minutes, I believed I wet the bed. Regardless, as I recover from my nightmare, I make myself aware of my surroundings. I'm in my bed. It's about 4:30 in the morning, and my heater is on full power. More importantly, there's a song playing on my phone. I put it on to go to sleep to, as it is one of my favorite songs, Lost, by Frank Ocean. I rediscovered the song recently as I was browsing through some of my older music and fell in love with it once again. My older brother showed me the song back in 2012 when it was released, and I nearly forgot about it until a few months ago. Once I heard it for the first time in almost 9 years, I couldn't get it out of my head. This one night, I decided to fall asleep to it, as I enjoy going to sleep listening to music or podcasts, as it takes my mind off the thought of falling asleep. I usually have interesting dreams, so I wondered if the song would cause some sort of a atypical dream, as the song itself is about a drug dealer being caught between international drug trafficking, family, and her significant other. I figured, even if I do not have a dream, at least I'll fall asleep listening to one of my favorite songs. And I rarely have nightmares or bad dreams, so I would never have expected to have one. While trying to connect the dots of my dream with my life, I recalled one of my phobias: home invasions. Ever since I was young, I've always been terrified of them. When I try to think about why, my mind comes up with the following reason. In your home, you're supposed to be comfortable, and not being able to feel comfortable because your life as well as your loved ones' lives are at risk because of a home invasion is terrifying. My entire life, I've grown up in an apartment. In September of last year, my family and I moved into a house. In the apartment, I didn't really have to worry about a home invasion, but the house is different. Luckily, my neighborhood is safe, so there's not much to worry about, but that fear still remains. So now, the dream makes sense, but the song? I'm still trying to figure out. Sure, I'm afraid of home invasions, but I am not an international drug trafficker balancing a faulty relationship and family. The only other connection I could come up with was me being afraid of my family during a home invasion, and since my older brother was the one to show me the song first, maybe there's something woven between those. My brother and I have a lot of memories together, sharing music, playing baseball at a nearby park, and simply talking about things we were interested in. I try not to think too hard about the nightmare and how that might, in some weird way, relate to my relationship with my brother or my family, as I don't want to dwell on the bad side of things, especially when it comes to family and my relationships. I've decided it's best to just tell the story and then let it go. Despite trying to justify my ill dream, I still absolutely love Lost. It will always be a special song to me, but I will never be able to listen to it the same way again.
That was great. All right. Our next storyteller is a student right here as well. She's a great writer. Her topic was trapped. So let's see what she does with the topic of trapped. Kimberly Grant.
Panic. It's what my mind told me to do. From overpacked subways to small theaters to supermarkets. I didn't, these are just some of the places that I experienced panic attacks. But the craziest place that I've experienced a panic attack is at the happiest place on earth. Yes, you heard me. The happiest place on earth. Let me tell you, I worked at Disney World about 2 years ago for the Disney College program. I was working in Epcot at Mouse Gear and Merchandise, and I lived in the Disney housing, and let me tell you, the Disney housing is like Hogwarts housing. You don't, before the program starts, you go and you select your housing, but you're not guaranteed that housing. So it's basically like going up to the Sorting Hat in Harry Potter, and it tells you what housing you're getting and how many roommates you're getting. I got 2 roommates, and I got Chatham, which was like the Hufflepuff of housing, and my roommates were wonderful. But one day I decided to go out into the parks on my own because my roommates were working. And because my roommates were working, I was just like, why not go to the parks, enjoy myself? And so what I did is I went and enjoyed myself. I got on the buses from housing. It was a long ride. I was anxiously waiting to get to the parks. When I got off the bus at the resort hotel to get to Magic Kingdom, I went into the hotel to get on the monorail. Security was bonding with me over orange soda, to be exact, Fanta, because Fanta orange soda is the best orange soda. And so I got on the monorail. It was not so cramped, so I was relieved. I got to the park, to Magic Kingdom, and I was excited to be in the park. I was looking at the wait times, and all I could tell is that It's a Small World didn't really have a wait. So I said, let me head on over there. I've never been on It's a Small World. What's the worst that can happen? So I went over to It's a Small World. I was passing through a bunch of crowds and just making my way. And so I got to It's a Small World. When I was waiting in line on the ride, at the ride, I was like, this is exciting. I've never ridden this ride before. And so I got on the ride. I was in the middle section of the boat. And now, before I go any further into this It's a Small World experience, let me tell you, I've ridden Pirates of the Caribbean boat ride, the Winnie the Pooh boat ride, I've been in Haunted Mansion, and Haunted Mansion is pretty scary, but It's a Small World. Let me tell you, let's go back now to It's a Small World. Now I get in the ride, and I'm in the middle. There's people in front of me, people behind me, and we start moving. As soon as we enter, you hear the dolls start singing, "It's a small world after all." And I was just like, something inside me just triggered, and I had a panic attack. I don't know what caused it. Maybe it was the dolls, because, there's dolls everywhere from all these countries staring at you in the face. And so I was just looking around the boat like, is there a button? Nope, there's no button I can push for help. Is there somebody maybe watching? Maybe I'll wave my arms around. And nope, I couldn't do that either. There was nobody watching. So as I'm curled up in my section of the boat, trying to contain myself the whole ride, the people in front of me didn't speak English, but I'm pretty sure they knew that something was wrong with me because they were looking at me concerningly. The people behind me were even just a little bit kind of like, what's going on with this girl? And so I just was going through all these countries. It felt like it was taking forever, like how it takes forever to go from New York to the Philippines. It's a long flight, so it felt like it was a long flight through all these countries on this ride. And by the time we reached the end, I got off the ride. The people who didn't speak English were like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Do you need help?" I was like, I'm fine. I'll be fine. And so the minute I walked out of the ride, I was looking for a cast member because I really wasn't fine, but I didn't want to disturb anybody's vacations who were guests and take away from their happy moments. So I was just like, let me just go find a cast member on my own terms. So I went over to Peter Pan's flight, which was across the way from It's a Small World, found a cast member, and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm not feeling great. Can you call somebody and get a wheelchair? And I need to get back to housing. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not feeling great." So what happened is they had this girl come with the wheelchair, and she was super nice about it and got me and rolled me all the way in this wheelchair, all the way back to the hotel. She didn't even take the monorail or anything. She literally took me through the walkway pathway back to the resort hotel to the shuttle buses that took me back to housing. And she stayed with me till the bus came, made sure I was okay. And let me just tell you, I went to sleep that night, and I woke up the next day, and I said to myself, it's not a small world. It's not a small world.